smaller whilst talking, apparently from a meek sense of undue prominence. "And when I seed her, 'twas nothing but blushes with me." "Poor feller," said Mr. Clark. "'Tis a curious nature for a man," said Jan Coggan. "Yes," continued Joseph Poorgrass, his shyness, which was so painful as a defect, filling him with a mild complacency, now that it was regarded as an interesting study. "'Twere blush, blush, blush with me every minute of the time when she was speaking to me." "I believe ye, Joseph Poorgrass, for we all know you to be a very bashful man." "'Tis a awkward gift for a man, poor soul," said the maltster. "And how long have you suffered from it, Joseph?" "Oh, ever since I was a boy. Yes, mother was concerned to her heart about it, yes, but 'twas all naught." "Did you ever go into the world and try to stop it, Joseph Poorgrass?" "I tried all sorts of company. They took me to Greenhill Fair, and into a great gay jerry-go-nimble show, where there were women folk riding around, standing upon horses, with hardly anything on but their smocks, but it didn't cure me a morsel. And then I was put errand man at the woman's skittle alley at the back of the Tailor's Arms in Casterbridge. 'Twas a horrible sinful situation, and a very curious place for a good man. I had to stand and look bawdy people in the face from morning till night. But 'twas no use, I was just as bad as ever after all. Blushes have been in the family for generations. There, 'tis a happy providence that I be no worse." "True," said Jacob Smallbury, deepening his thoughts to a profounder view of the subject. "'Tis a thought to look at, that ye might have been worse. But even as you be, 'tis a very bad affliction for 'ee, Joseph. For you see, shepherd, though 'tis very well for a woman, dang it all, 'tis awkward for a man like him, poor fella." "Yes, 'tis," said Gabriel, recovering from a meditation. "Yes, very awkward for the man." "Ay, and he's very timid too," observed Jan Coggan. "Once he had been working late at Yalbury Bottom, and had had a drop of drink, and lost his way as he was coming home along through Yalbury Wood. Didn't he, Master Poorgrass?" "No, no, no, not that story," expostulated the modest man, forcing a laugh to bury his concern. "And so lost himself quite," continued Mr. Coggan with an impassive face, implying that a true narrative, like time and tide, must run its course, and would respect no man. "And as he was coming along in the middle of the night, much afeard and not able to find his way out of the trees nohow, it cried out, 'Man alost! Man alost!' A owl in a tree happened to be crying, 'Hoo, hoo, hoo,' as owls do, you know, shepherd." Gabriel nodded. "And Joseph, all in a tremble, said, 'Joseph Poorgrass of Weatherbury, sir.'" "No, no, now that's too much," said the timid man, becoming a man of brazen courage all of a sudden. "I didn't say 'sir.' I'll take my oath I didn't say 'Joseph Poorgrass of Weatherbury, sir.' No, no, what's right is right, and I never said 'sir' to the bird, knowing very well that no man of a gentleman's rank would be hollering there at that time of night. 'Joseph Poorgrass of Weatherbury.' That's every word I said, and I shouldn't have said that if it hadn't have been for Keeper Day's metheglin. There, 'twas a merciful thing it ended where it did." The question of which was right being tacitly waived by the company, Jan went on meditatively. "And he's a fearfullest man, bain't ye, Joseph? Ay, another time you were lost by Lammindown Gate, weren't ye, Joseph?" "I was," replied Poorgrass, as if there were some conditions too serious even for modesty to remember itself under, this being one. "Yes, that were in the middle of the night too. The gate would not open, try how he would, and knowing there was the devil's hand in it, he kneeled down." "Ah," said Joseph, acquiring confidence from the warmth of the fire, the cider, and a perception of the narrative capabilities of the experience alluded to. "My heart died within me that time, but I kneeled down and said the Lord's Prayer, and then the belief right through, and then the Ten Commandments in earnest prayer. But no, the gate wouldn't open. And then went on with dearly beloved brethren, and thinks I, this makes four, and 'tis all I know out of the book, and if this don't do it, nothing will, and I'm a lost man. Well, when I got to saying after me, I rose from my knees and found that the gate would open. Yes, neighbours, the gate opened the same as ever." A meditation on the obvious inference was indulged in by all, and during its continuance each directed his vision into the ash pit, which glowed like a desert in the tropics under a vertical sun, shaping their eyes long and liney, partly because of the light, partly from the depth of the subject discussed. Gabriel broke the silence. "What sort of place is this to live at? And what sort of missus is she to work under?" Gabriel's bosom thrilled gently as he thus slipped under the notice of the assembly the innermost subject of his heart. "We know little of her. Nothing. She only showed herself a few days ago. Her uncle was took bad, and the doctor was called with his world-wide skill, but he couldn't save the man. As I take it, she's going to keep on the farm." "That's about the shape of it, I believe," said Jan Coggan. "Ah, 'tis a very good family. I'd as soon be under them as under one here and there. Her uncle was a very fair sort of man. Did you know him, shepherd? A bachelor man?" "Not at all." "I used to go to his house a courting my first wife, Charlotte, who was his dairymaid. Well, a very good-hearted man were Farmer Everdene, and I, being a respectable young fellow, was allowed to call and see her, and drink as much ale as I liked, but not to carry away any. Outside of my skin, I mane, of course." Jan Coggan, we know your meaning." "And you see, 'twas beautiful ale, and I wished to value his kindness as much as I could, and not to be so ill-mannered as to drink only a thimbleful, which would have been insulting to the man's generosity." "True, Master Coggan, 'twould so," corroborated Mark Clark. "And so I used to eat a lot of salt fish afore going, and then by the time I got there I were as dry as a lime basket. So thoroughly dry that ale would slip down. 'Twould slip down sweet. Happy times, heavenly times. Such lovely drunks as I used to have at that house. You can mind, Jacob. You used to go with me sometimes." I can," said Jacob. "That one too that we had at the Buck's Head on a White Monday was a pretty tipple." "'Twas, but for a wet of the better class, that brought you no nearer to the horned man than you were before you begun. There was none like those in Farmer Everdene's kitchen. Not a single dam allowed. No, not a bare poor one, even at the most cheerful moment when all were blindest, though the good old word of sin thrown in here and there at such times is a great relief to a merry soul." "True," said the maltster. "Nature requires her swearing at regular times, or she's not herself, and unholy exclamations is a necessity of life." "But Charlotte," continued Coggan, "not a word of the sort would Charlotte allow, nor the smallest item of taking in vain. Ah, poor Charlotte! I wonder if she'd had the good fortune to get into heaven when I died. But I never was much in luck's way, and perhaps I went downwards after all, poor soul."
"And did any of you know Miss Everdene's father and mother?" inquired the shepherd, who found some difficulty in keeping the conversation in the desired channel.
"I knew him a little," said Jacob Smallbury, "but they were townsfolk and didn't live here. They've been dead for years. Father, what sort of people were Mrs.'s father and mother?" "Well," said the maltster, "he wasn't much to look at, but she was a lovely woman. He was fond enough of her as a sweetheart." "He used to kiss her scores and long hundreds of times, so 'twas said," observed Coggan. "He was very proud of her too, when they were married, as I've been told," said the maltster. "Ay," said Coggan, "he admired her so much that he used to light the candle 3 times a night to look at her." "Boundless love! I shouldn't have supposed it in the universe," murmured Joseph Poorgrass, who habitually spoke on a large scale in his moral reflections. "Well, to be sure," said Gabriel. "Oh, 'tis true enough. I know the man and woman both well. Levi Everdene, that was the man's name, sure. Man, sayeth I in my hurry, but he were of a higher circle of life than that. I was a gentleman tailor, really, worth scores of pounds, and he became a very celebrated bankrupt 2 or 3 times." "Oh, I thought he was quite a common man," said Joseph. "Oh, no, no. That man failed for heaps of money, hundreds in gold and silver."
The maltster being rather short of breath, Mr. Coggan, after absently scrutinizing a coal which had fallen among the ashes, took up the narrative with a private twirl of his eye.
"Well, now, you'd hardly believe it, but that man, our Miss Everdene's father, was one of the ficklest husbands alive, after a while. Understand, I didn't want to be fickle, but I couldn't help it. The poor fellow were faithful and true enough to her in his wish, but his heart would rove, do what he would. He spoke to me in real tribulation about it once. 'Coggan,' he said, 'I could never wish for a handsomer woman than I've got, but feeling she's ticketed in as my lawful wife, I can't help my wicked heart wandering, do what I will. But, alas, I believe he cured her by making her take off her